So I've come across this question, and I'm going to zoom in a bit on Stack Overflow, which is how can I retrieve information about a line drawn in Matplotlib. Matplotlib is just a line drawing program. So yeah, I want to analyze lines already drawn on a plot. I tried using, this ax.getLines.getData function, but no matter what kind of line and which points passes through, it returns a 0 and a 1. So I've kind of like gone in and had a look at this, and what this person's actually referring to is this piece down here and printing this piece of information. And so I've gone and had a look. First of all, I'm not sure that they need, and I'll make my code bigger as well, and I'll expand it. So I've kind of like copied this block of code here and pasted this person's code up in here in my VS Code, and it would be quite nice if I make this bigger, so I will. Plus, zoom in on the fonts, and I'll probably expand it as well. So this is the code up to this point here, and then everything beyond is my code. So everything beyond this line is my code, just things or corrections that can be done. Now, number one, we don't need NumPy's MP because it looks like NumPy is not being used anywhere, so there's no references to MP, so that's not necessary. Plot RC params, I believe that's probably like setting the sizes of what the actual plot will be, and I actually do run it, so I've got a couple of runs because I was like testing it out down the side on the right hand side over here. So as you can see, I'm scrolling through it, but in particular this person's looking at, so they've got these 2 points, and then they do this plot, and then afterwards they do this ax. They try this variant of this ax.getLines, and maybe I'll just bring this up one more time to the front, or actually maybe I should actually copy this. They do this little print statement here, so yeah, okay, this little piece here, copy that. So this was the copy paste. This was actually the original code. So they've done this lines equals ax.getLines, and they've correctly done in the question lines 0 and expecting sort of like to get the first line back, print this data. But what actually comes back, and I'll comment out all of my code, I guess, for now. So everything down below this bit is my code. Copy that and paste over here. So let's just scroll down and comment everything out. So if we look at the right hand side now, because this is the original piece of code that was there, run. They're referring to this bit. They get a 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. That's what they get, and it's kind of like one line. And actually, like I've gone through and sort of like had a little test and said, what is this get lines thing? What is it actually returning? So I go down here, and the first thing that I do is a whole bunch of these things, because you can sort of like pull them out from, from the documentation basically on Matplotlib. So you sort of like surf through the documentation on Matplotlib. And for example, maybe I'll do this in the browser on the side, but matplotlib. Well, here is a little bit of an example there. Get lines. I'll do another version of it. Matplotlib get data, and I'll move all of this out of the way for a second, just so that you can sort of like see the browsing of it. There's a whole bunch how to use these set lines and get lines, Matplotlib, some documentation. Oh, not that one. Let's get that one completely correct. So let's copy a little bit more into there, like ax.getLines. Yeah, we'll do ax.getLines, not get data. and then possibly lines.getData. But let's have a look. But here's the ax.getLines, and again, there's not much in there. There's some things that I've browsed through, and here's one thing here. So this ax.getLines, they've used it here, and they've used all they've done here, or at least what's come back is this. They've used it to do the ax.getLines, and again, I'll do a little zoom in of this so that it's visible and get rid of that over there. So they've got this ax.getLines, and then they do a little check on it. They put that into a list, and then they get the length of the list. And it seemed to be like that for a lot of the documentation. And I went through and I found other usage of the of this lines method. So this so you look like line equals lines 0, and you can sort of like get data, get color. So it looks like you're getting lots of attributes of the line, but what you don't get, or at least what this user was expecting, was that I presume they were expecting to get like the intercept and the slope of the line, but they were not getting that. So and here we've got something totally different, and it's used for plotting and so forth. So anyway, going back to the original question and expanding, I did put this into actually ChatGPT to start with, which I have opened somewhere in the background too. But basically, I was like, okay, well, if that code's not working, then let's try and do extras. So here's all the other stuff. So let's just run that extra bit. I tried out. So again, I've got the lines equals ax.getLines. This was the retrieving data part. That didn't do very much. So let's remove this bit actually, because we don't need it a second time. Let's just run that. Then I've got like number of lines, okay, and that's how the use case that we kind of like saw in the map in the example on what was this web page, the Geeks for Geeks web page. And then it's kind of like, well, I can do sort of like get data, and this is what comes back. But what is it? It's kind of like a tuple of lists. That's what it is, but it doesn't contain very much info. Then there's like get color. Well, that's what that returns back. C0. Get line style. Well, it's a straight line. And then get X data. Then there's other things. It was like get XY data and get Y data. But they all produced similar stuff. The X data is this. The Y data is this. And the XY data was some combination of it. So nothing that gives at least it was nothing obvious that gives a slope and intercept. So I went along and made a function effectively for doing this, and I will uncomment it and basically get slope and intercept. So the function's called get slope and intercept, and it takes in 2 points, point 1 and point 2. And point 1 is a list. I could put that safely. List. It's actually a list at least in the case of the question, it's a list because you've got the list over here. That's how it's been given. And point 2 is also a list. So, and then it does an unpacking. So you get your x1, y1 point from point 1, and you get your x2, y2 point from point 2. And then it's a standard calculation for a slope, which is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So it's delta y by delta x. That's what the slope is. And the intercept is just a rearrangement of, so an intercept of a line, equation of a line is y equals m, or we call it the slope, times by x, like that. Plus the standard equation of a straight line, so we can rearrange that basically to get intercept equals slope, or at least if we're moving the intercept, if we're keeping the intercept on this side, we can remove all of this, so all of this y minus that, so it's basically y minus that. We can move it all over here just like that. So that's basically what it is. So basically that's pretty much it. I'll delete these lines because we don't need them, but they're the calculations for the slope and intercept, and we can actually return a pair of numbers back, like a tuple back effectively. So a tuple of the slope and intercept, and you know, if it wouldn't be a proper tuple, it'd be inside the brackets. But anyway, Control Z. We're returning these two things back that needs to be unpacked, and like in the example, it had like 0.1 and 0.2 here, but actually we don't even need that, because if I do a /, it's actually defined up here, 0.1 and 0.2. We don't even need it if name equals main guard in particular, but I'll keep it there just for the sake of it. So now we've got this slope and intercept end of this line. So get the slope and intercept, and it takes 0.1 and then 0.2. And we can actually see 0.1 here is 8,4 and 0.2 here is 10,15. They're the two lists that have been passed in. And then we can sort of like print what the slope is and what the intercept is. So if I hit Control Return one more time, we get that. Now I could do some rounding or something, but you know, I might even do that, like round, sort of like, I don't know, to 3 decimal places, just so that it's not like super ugly. Although maybe we do want a lot of rounding. I'll just do the rounding in here. Round. So just a tiny bit cleaner in terms of the number of decimal places, like how many do you want. So that's pretty much it, and that's going to give you a description of the line, and that comes from this get slope and intercept method that we've written, and it's kind of like nicely formed, and that basically forms the answer. So if I do shrink this back down a bit so that we can actually see, that's the answer that I posted. And I've got a little reply coming back, so we'll have a little read of that actually in real time. We'll see what the reply is, but basically there's me. I just messaged to the person, looked at the usage of get lines in the various resources, and that's what it seemed to be. Maybe this person thinks otherwise, and being kind of like, this is the details. But let's see. Thanks for your answer. The thing is, I want to analyze multiple lines together after they are. So I thought that this user might be going for something like that. I'm just not sure actually if it's available. If you're able to get slopes and intercepts, for example, back in the in matplotlib, you certainly can't do it with the get lines function. So what the actual answer is this: the thing is that I want to analyze multiple lines together after they are already drawn with for cycle. Okay, I thought that if there is a line 2D object for each line drawn, then maybe the information about its slope and internet can be retrieved. If it isn't possible, I will probably have to save this data manually. I think you're welcome to post commenting if you can get the slope and intercept out, but I actually think that the way that it's normally done in matplotlib is actually you label your line in some way, and that's what you'll be getting back. So I think, but this is in real time, so you know, I could well be like partly wrong, but I could have a go at this. It'd be something like over here when you're plotting your line or you're making your line. Plot ax line. I wonder if comma. There's some keyword arguments. I'm going to go on to provide get a for a line in matplotlib. I'm actually typing this into Google Bard, although I didn't type it in wholly correctly. I wonder if I do, if I minimize this and move it out of the way, then you might see my Google Bard version. Yeah, here we go. It's label equals my line, for example. So I can do something as simple as this, I believe. Label equals my line. Let's see if it works or doesn't work. I haven't seen the label anywhere. But I wonder if I do something like print, and I don't know if this is going to work or not, but line dot, we'll try a get get underscore. I'm just going to guess at this label. Hey, so it does work. There we go. So you could do something like that, and your my line would then be, or at least in the in the code here, it would be something like. You can make a nice like cute F string, so it could be something like F. I'm hoping that it takes an F string, but point F of 0.1 and comma point 0.2. Maybe that gives something relatively nice back. And let's have a look. I would need to. I have got the X label. Where's that coming out? That's X data. Yeah. So print this bit here, X label. So when you do run it, you then get your X label like this. So I might put that in as a comment, sort of like a side note, because that's something that you can do if you wanted to distinguish your lines. And actually, maybe, arguably, that's a better way of distinguishing lines if you had multiple lines in matplotlib. So that's basically it. I'll leave it there. So that's plotting lines and getting the description of a straight line in using Python, getting the slope and the intercept of a straight line in Python. If you have comments, if you know a better way, definitely put your comments in the chat. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Please do all of those good things, like, subscribe, because it's very helpful and feedback is quite useful as well. So thanks.